You have a power inside you, a fire that never truly fades. It might flicker, it might dim, but it is always there, quietly waiting. And then when you least expect it, a single moment, a thought, a challenge becomes the spark. It ignites the fuel of your flame. You may think you already understand your limits, that you've mapped the borders of your strength, but what you believe is just the surface. Beneath that surface lies a vast ocean of untapped force, of unrealized potential waiting to be awakened. There is something inside you that cannot be broken. Not really. It might go silent, it might feel distant, but it is never gone. That part of you that kept moving forward when everything turned dark, it is still here. And whether you realize it or not, you've barely scratched the surface of what you're truly capable of. Most people live their entire lives trapped under versions of themselves that barely even approach their real strength. They accept the limits handed to them as if they were truth. But what if those limits aren't real? What if the doubts, the fears, the setbacks aren't reflections of who you are, but tests meant to awaken the power already within you? You think you've seen what you're made of? You haven't. Beneath the noise of overthinking, beneath the weight of underestimating yourself, there is a deeper self, calm, focused, unshaken. That version of you exists. It's built on the kind of inner strength the Stoics spoke of. Not loud, not flashy, but steady, grounded, and real. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That is the place we're going to today. Not the surface-level stuff, not the easy or obvious power, but the real, unshakable force inside you. And if any part of you is ready to stop doubting, to stop questioning, and to start truly becoming, then stay with me. This video might just be the spark that lights your fire again. One small favor, if this resonates, if this is the kind of space you want to grow in, hit that subscribe button. It matters more than you know. Now, why do you doubt yourself? It's not because you are weak. It's not because you're broken. It's because somewhere along the way you lost touch with the part of you that has been quietly conquering day after day. Doubt doesn't come from weakness. It comes from disconnection. It comes from forgetting all, the times you showed up, even when nobody noticed. The part of you that got out of bed when everything felt heavy, that kept moving forward when your mind screamed stop. That is the part that matters. That is the part that carries you through. You've smiled at others while silently carrying what felt like the weight of the world. Most people never recognize that strength in themselves, not because it isn't there, but because they've been trained not to look for it. You weren't born unsure of yourself. You learned hesitation. Like a quiet language, it crept in, slowly through subtle warnings. Tone it down, stay safe, don't get your hopes up. Maybe it started at school, maybe at home, or from watching others get punished for standing out. It's not your fault, but now it is your responsibility to unlearn it. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. What have you been repeatedly doing? Dismissing yourself, second-guessing, playing small. But here's the truth. Beneath all that noise of doubt, there has always been another voice, a quieter voice, one that doesn't shout but whispers at the right moments. That voice shows up when distractions fade, when the chaos settles. It says, "This isn't all I am. I was made for more than this." Have you ever sat in silence and felt it rising, not as ego but as truth? And if that voice has survived all the years you tried to quiet it with fear, with overthinking, then so has the strength that carried you through. You've endured more than you realize, moments where quitting would have been easier, nights you carried a storm inside and still showed up the next morning as if the sky was clear. That's not weakness. That's resilience. That's grit. That's proof. Carl Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become, and you've been choosing even in silence." Those choices have been shaping you all along. The problem isn't a lack of confidence, it's a lack of memory. You've forgotten your own evidence, forgotten the strength buried in those ordinary, uncelebrated days when you kept moving forward. You adapted. You healed in pieces. You kept going when nothing made sense. That kind of strength doesn't disappear. It only gets ignored. We ignore it because we've been trained to trust criticism more than capability. Our compliments are dismissed. Achievements are downplayed. And over time, a quiet narrative takes hold. One that says, I'm not enough, even when every fact bar proves otherwise. Socrates believed the unexamined life is not worth living, but the unexamined self is where most suffering begins. If you never pause to reflect on all you've overcome, how can you truly believe in what you're capable of next? There was a time you felt invincible, not because life was perfect, but because you were in touch with a deeper truth. Maybe it was when you were a kid running without fear, speaking without apology. Or maybe it was just a fleeting moment in hardship when something inside you stood tall and steady. That bar wasn't ego. That was clarity. That was you. That spark didn't disappear. It didn't burn out. It only got buried. Under the opinions you never asked for, the criticism you didn't deserve, the failures you mistook for definitions, and the fog of life, the noise, the pressure, the expectations. All of it made it harder to hear yourself. But let's be clear, you didn't lose your fire. You just stopped feeding it. And real fire, the kind that lives in your chest and refuses to quit, doesn't die easily. EPR doesn't go out with a single setback or even 1,000. It retreats. It waits. It smolders until you are ready to remember it was never gone, and all it takes is a choice, not a loud dramatic one, not a perfect one, just a quiet, firm decision to believe again, not in some ideal version of yourself, but in the self that has always been quietly unstoppable. But at your core, that power has always been there. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Those who look outside for dreams, who look inside awaken." That invincibility you once felt, that wasn't a dream. It was your heart speaking long before the world gave you reasons to doubt. Maybe it's time to stop seeking validation out there and start seeking recognition within. You are not starting over. You are returning. You are not broken. You are merely buried under stories that were never yours to carry. Let them go. Reclaim that voice, the one that doesn't need to shout to be certain, the one that whispers, "I am not done, I am just remembering." The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. Volume does not equal power. Often it masks insecurity. True strength moves quietly. It doesn't beg to be seen because it's too busy building. True confidence isn't loud. It's steady, calm, unmoved by who is watching. It's not the one making a scene. It's the one making progress. You've been conditioned to believe that if nobody notices, it doesn't count. That if you don't post it, it didn't happen. But that's not growth. That's performance. Confidence is not proving something to the world. It's knowing something in yourself. And when you know, you don't need applause. You just need to keep showing up. Day after day, when the spotlight is absent, when no one is cheering, when it's just you and the work, that is where real power takes shape. Plato said, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." I would add, especially when no one is watching, because the world will notice eventually. But the version of you that matters most, the one who needs to notice first, is you. So if you're building something and nobody sees it yet, good. Let them miss it. Let them overlook you. Let your silence confuse them. Let your discipline unsettle them. One day they'll ask how you got there, but by then your answer will already be written, in the results. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll try when I'm ready"? Maybe you never said it aloud, but you thought it. That you need more confidence, more experience, more preparation before you take the leap. But readiness is not a guest that knocks on the door. It does not show up announced. Readiness is something you build, not through thinking, but through doing. You do not become ready and then act. You act, and through that action you become ready. Every person you admire, every story that inspired you, none of them began with certainty. They began with hesitation. They began in fear. They just didn't let that fear stop them. They moved anyway. And in that movement, as Aristotle said, we learn by doing, not by waiting, not by doubting, but by engaging with the very thing that terrifies us. Fear is clever. It often dresses as logic. It tells you to be practical, to wait for a better time, to gather more data, to get more approval, to feel more prepared. But what if all of that is just fear wearing a polished accent? What if that hesitation isn't protecting you, it's paralyzing you? Because your future self, the one who is grounded, capable, fulfilled, isn't waiting for the perfect moment. It's calling you forward now, from exactly where you feel most unsure. So if you're scared, good. That means you're alive. That means you're close to something important. Discomfort is not a red flag, it's a signal. It means you are standing at the edge of growth, on the boundary between who you are and who you're about to become. You don't wait to become worthy of that transformation. You act your way into it. Worthiness is not handed to you. It's earned in the trenches of uncertainty, in the choices you make when nothing feels guaranteed. You don't find your confidence. You build it, and then you show up. You show up scared, unready. And through showing up again and again, you become confident. Every time you say, "I can't," your nervous system listens. It doesn't argue. It doesn't fact-check. It accepts the command and begins wiring itself around that limitation. Your body tenses, your breath shortens, your mind begins to shrink its expectations. And if you repeat it often enough, it doesn't just become a belief. It becomes a blueprint, one that your actions follow automatically. That's the tricky thing about doubt. It doesn't shout. It whispers quietly, casually. Maybe I'm just not built for this. I've never been good at that. It's probably too late for me. It sounds like you. It feels like logic, but it's fear. Fear in disguise, slipping past your guard by pretending to be rational. But what if you started treating your thoughts like suggestions instead of absolute truth? What if you questioned them, not with panic, but with curiosity? Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Most of us are being led by thoughts we never but chose, never examined, never challenged. They were passed down by teachers, by parents, by culture, voices that became our internal narration before we even knew we were allowed to question them. So the next time that inner voice says you're not enough, stop. Don't absorb it. Ask, whose voice is that really? Is it a tired version of yourself speaking from exhaustion? Is it someone else's projection from years ago that still lingers in your system? Because once you identify the source, you weaken its grip. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. You are the thinker, not the thought. But we are. And that means you have power, not to control every thought that comes, but to decide which ones stay, which ones you keep, and which ones you build your life around. Your mind is a space, a sacred one. And just like your home, it collects clutter, self-doubt, fear, shame. They pile up when left unchecked. But you can clean it. You can create mental order by being intentional, by replacing noise with clarity, assumptions with questions, judgment with understanding. Your power begins the moment you stop being an echo and start being the editor, the author, the one who chooses the script, not just repeating the one that was handed down. You scroll, you stare, you see others achieving, building, glowing with success in perfectly filtered moments, and without meaning to, you start shrinking, not physically but emotionally. Internally, you compare their victories to your doubts, their milestones to your mess, their highlight reel to your behind the scenes. Suddenly it feels like you're falling behind in a race you didn't even realize you were running. Here's the truth. Comparison is a thief. It doesn't just steal joy. It steals your focus, your gratitude, your momentum, and trades it for anxiety, envy, and a quiet sense of not enough. And the worst part? Most of it isn't even real. You're comparing your full humanity to someone else's edited glimpse, your struggles to their curated success. It's an unfair fight from the start. The Stoics saw this clearly. They believed the good life wasn't about how much you had, but how well you lived. Epictetus taught that we should never tie our worth to things outside of our control, especially not other people's achievements. He said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control And yet, we hand over our inner peace every time we use someone else's progress as a ruler for our own. But you are not behind. You are on your path, one with its own rhythm, its own pace, and its own lessons. You were never meant to match anyone else's timeline. Aristotle believed that each person's purpose, what he called telos, was unique. Trying to replicate someone else's purpose is like planting a tree and expecting it to bloom like a flower. Your journey is yours alone. Your growth, your pace, your victories, they belong to you and only you. And the moment you embrace that, the moment you stop comparing, that is when true confidence and power begin to take root. It's not wrong. It's just not you. The only competition that truly matters is with the person you were yesterday. Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you trying bare, even just a little? If the answer is yes, then you're not losing, you're evolving. Progress, measured in self-awareness and small steps, is far more meaningful than any spotlight moment posted online. What you need right now isn't more motivation, it's memory. Not a pep talk, not a new mantra, just a quiet, honest remembering of everything you've already made it through. Because if you could look back clearly, really look, you'd realize just how much you've survived. The days that cracked you but didn't collapse you. The nights where you lay awake with doubt pressing on your chest and still woke up, still got dressed, still carried on when quitting would have been easier. That's your resume, not your titles, not your metrics. Your proof lies in your perseverance. Resilience isn't a rare gift reserved for the strong. It's a choice. A decision repeated daily. The choice to keep going when nothing makes sense, when everything inside you screams stop, and you respond quietly, not yet. It's forged in the fire of fatigue, refined under the pressure of fear, and proven in the presence of failure. Plato once said, "Courage is knowing what not to fear." But maybe real courage is feeling fear, all of it, and walking through it anyway. You are stronger than you feel, not because someone told you so, but because you've practiced strength when no one noticed. The kind of strength that doesn't get shared on social media, the kind that doesn't come with rewards or recognition, the kind that is lived in private, behind closed doors, in moments you never thought you'd make it through. But you did. That's where confidence is born, not in speeches, not in applause, but in your ability to stand up one more time after life tries to knock you flat. Your confidence isn't built when things are easy. It's earned in the dark. Your mind is both battlefield and sanctuary. It can be the place where chaos multiplies or where clarity takes root. It's not just where your thoughts live, it's where your future is built. More often than not, it's not the problems themselves that undo you. It's the interpretation of those problems, the way your mind tells the story, the spin, the fear, the assumption. That's where the spiral begins. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But what about the unexamined thought? That one sentence you repeat to yourself without even noticing, "I'm not ready, they're better than me, this always happens to me." These quiet phrases, left unchecked, become the script you act out day after day, not because they're true, but because they're familiar. But here's the power. You can reclaim the gate. You can stop letting every thought walk in unchecked. You can become the gatekeeper of your mind, the one who decides what gets to stay, the one who decides which thoughts are allowed to shape your day, your choices, your future. You are not at the mercy of every whisper, every doubt, every shadow of fear. You are the editor, the observer, the author. And when you step into that role, that is when control begins. That is when freedom begins. That is when you finally step into the person you were meant to be. What gets questioned and what gets rewritten begins in stillness. Not silence necessarily, but awareness, creating space between stimulus and response, between thought and belief. Start auditing your beliefs, not to judge them but to understand them. Where did they come from? Who handed them to you? Do they reflect truth, or are they just old programming? Carl Jung warned that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But facing your mind, that is the beginning of freedom, not a glamorous process, but a liberating one. Clean your mental language. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for. Journal, not to impress yourself, but to see yourself clearly. Stop writing what you hope is true. Start writing what is so you can move toward what can be. Don't just feed your mind with content. Train it with intention. Practice thinking. Practice noticing. Practice replacing. A trained mind doesn't panic at challenge. It pauses. It doesn't react to every opinion. It filters. It doesn't chase control. It seeks clarity. A trained mind won't save you from every problem, but it will protect you from the worst, the ones you invent. You've tied your worth to outcomes, the job offer, the number, the applause. You've looked to results as if they were mirrors, hoping they'd reflect the validation you've been chasing. And when they didn't, you started shrinking, assuming that if the result wasn't great, you must not be either. But the truth is, outcomes are liars. They don't tell the whole story. They're shaped by timing, by luck, by variables beyond your control. And if you live by them, you'll die by them. One high will never feel high enough. One failure will feel like a verdict. You'll stay stuck in a cycle of chasing worth from things that were never meant to define you. The Stoics understood this long before algorithms and awards. Marcus Aurelius didn't measure his life by victories in battle or praise from the Senate. He measured it by whether he lived in alignment with virtue, whether his actions came from integrity, not impulse. They believed power isn't in the outcome, it's in the process. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather wish that what happens happens the way it happens, and then you will be happy." That's not passivity, that's peace. You are not your wins, you are not your losses. You are who you are in the face of both. You are the effort, not the echo, the decision, not the result. Detachment is widely misunderstood. People think it means you don't care, but real detachment means you care deeply. You just don't collapse when things don't go your way. You give your best. You commit fully. You stay present. You act with integrity. And in that, no matter the outcome, you remain whole. But you don't let the result dictate your self-worth. That's not apathy. That's mastery. You can love something and still release attachment to its outcome. You can give your all and remain okay if it doesn't land. That is the kind of strength that isn't shaken by external shifts, because it is anchored in internal stability. You don't need to leap all at once. That's a myth. Transformation doesn't happen in one sweeping cinematic moment with swelling music. Real life doesn't work that way. Growth is never one big act. It is a series of small, honest acts. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to take the next step, the one right in front of you, the one that feels hard. True courage isn't always heroic. It isn't always a grand speech or a bold confrontation. Sometimes courage is whispering no when your whole body wants to say yes just to be liked. Sometimes it's writing one authentic sentence when your self-doubt insists delete. Sometimes it's simply rising, placing your feet on the floor and facing the day, even when everything inside you longs to disappear. Plato once said the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself, and that victory doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in quiet, repeated choices to act in truth, even when fear shouts louder than reason. You don't build a new identity in an instant. You build it by showing up as someone slightly stronger than yesterday, and every time you make subtle yet powerful moves, shifts happen. You begin to see yourself differently, not as the one who doubts, but as the one who acts anyway. The moment you see yourself as capable, as courageous, even in the smallest things, everything changes. Identity shapes action, and action reinforces identity. It becomes a loop you control. Who are you when no one is watching? When there is no recognition, no applause, no reward, just you, your choices, and the silence that surrounds them. That is where self-respect is forged. Not under bright lights, but in shadows. Not when performing, but when living moment by moment with quiet integrity. It's easy to act strong when people are watching. It's easy to speak well when applause follows. Real transformation, however, happens when you choose to do the right thing even when no one will ever know. when your actions align with your values, not for recognition, but because you see and because you know. That knowing becomes your compass. Socrates said the soul is dyed the color of its thoughts, but it is also dyed by its habits, the actions you repeat when there is nothing to gain. That is what shapes your inner architecture. You don't build trust in yourself by talking big. You build it by being consistent in the dark, by keeping the promises you make to yourself in private. That quiet loyalty to your own principles is where unshakable self-respect is born. When you learn to show up without needing a witness, your strength becomes internal. You stop performing. You stop needing to prove yourself. You simply are. And when that happens, even the loudest criticism becomes background noise. Irrelevant, temporary, powerless. Stop shrinking. Stop tucking away parts of yourself just to make others comfortable. Stop apologizing for your ambition, for wanting more, for reaching further, for standing in your truth. Ambition is not arrogance, it's clarity. It is the internal knowing that you were meant for something meaningful. Somewhere along the way you were taught that striving made you selfish, that confidence made you threatening. That was never about you, it was about their comfort. Real humility does not ask you to disappear. It asks you to stay rooted. It does not mean hiding your gifts. It means offering them with grace. Socrates said, "To find yourself, think for yourself." When you do, you realize humility is not shrinking back. It is stepping forward without needing to be the loudest in the room. Courage is not noise. It is presence. It is choosing to live in alignment with what matters most, even when it is unpopular, even when it is hard. You don't need to draw attention to yourself, but you must stop pretending your voice doesn't matter. You weren't made to fade into the background. You were made to contribute, to build, to speak, to model integrity in a noisy world. That doesn't require aggression or showiness. It requires being grounded. It requires acting with intention, living with dignity, standing for your values with calm conviction. You don't need applause to be powerful. You don't need recognition to be significant. Your worth is not measured by applause. It is measured by how faithfully you show up, day after day, for the things and people that matter. You show up. Fear is not the enemy. It never has been. What holds you back isn't fear itself. It's how tightly you clutch it, how often you accept it without question, how silently you allow it to steer your choices. Fear only becomes a problem when you let it take the wheel without ever asking where it's driving you. It grows strongest in silence, in the places you avoid, in the stories you never challenge. So challenge it. Sit with it. Talk to it. Ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Not in a vague general sense, but specifically. Is it failure? Is it being misunderstood? Is it starting over, admitting that the last path wasn't right for you? Most of the time, what we fear isn't life-threatening, it's ego-threatening, it's discomfort, it's uncertainty, it's being seen in ways we can't control, and that's exactly where growth lives. Carl Jung said, "Where your fear is, there is your task." Fear is not a stop sign, it is a spotlight. It points to the places in your life still ruled by limitation rather than freedom. If something scares you and excites you at the same time, pay attention. That is the edge of your potential calling. And if you rarely feel that edge, if everything around you feels safe, familiar, and easy, you're probably not growing. Growth doesn't happen in the absence of fear. It happens in your willingness to move forward despite it. Stop waiting to feel fearless. That day doesn't come. Instead, learn to walk with fear beside you, not behind it, not under it, but shoulder to shoulder. Let it be a signal, not a sentence. Let it teach you, not trap you. Discipline is not punishment. It's not restriction. It's not being hard on yourself or stripping joy from life. It's the opposite. It is liberation. It is the quiet power of structure. It is the freedom that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself when things get loud, messy, or uncertain. When everything around you feels out of control, discipline becomes the steady rhythm that keeps you anchored. Think about it when you train your mind to focus, when you move your body, even when you don't feel like it, When you choose consistency over comfort, you're not limiting your life, you're creating space within it. You're telling your nervous system, we've got this. And that is peace, that is stability, that is strength. Motivation is great, but it's a visitor. It comes and goes. Discipline stays behind when motivation disappears. It holds you up when inspiration fails. It reminds you that your worth isn't based on how you feel in a moment. It's built on the choices you make over time. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Make your routines sacred, not rigid, not perfect, but intentional. Let them be your anchor, your reminder, because on the days when doubt creeps in, when everything feels foggy, when you forget who you are, those routines will speak for you. They'll whisper, "I know who I am, because I show up for myself." And that, more than anything, is what discipline really is. A daily act of self-respect. You've waited too long to feel ready. You've held out for the right mood, the perfect timing, the green light from someone else that says, "Now you can begin." But readiness is not a feeling. It doesn't magically arrive. It is something you create by stepping forward, even when your legs are shaking. The truth is, you're already becoming, not in some dramatic, visible way that everyone notices, but quietly, daily, in the moments where you chose integrity over ease, patience over reaction, effort over excuse, through every decision you made, that no one applauded, the ones you didn't post about, the ones you weren't even sure mattered. Those are the choices shaping you. Every day you take a step, no matter how small, you are rewriting your story. The world will try to define you by what it sees, by the successes it notices and the failures it remembers. But your true measure is invisible. It's in the quiet consistency, the decisions made when no one is watching. It's in choosing action over procrastination, persistence over comfort, and clarity over chaos. Every time you resist the temptation to shrink, to hide, or to settle, you reinforce a version of yourself that is resilient, focused, and unstoppable. This is not luck, it's not coincidence, it's the accumulation of repeated choices, the forging of character under pressure, the quiet work done when applause is absent. The moments you feel uncertain, hesitant, or afraid, these are not signs to stop. They are signals that you are touching the edge of your growth, stepping beyond the familiar, moving into the space where transformation lives. Growth doesn't occur in comfort, it lives in the tension between fear and action. Every time you push forward, despite doubt, your confidence grows silently, like roots sinking deep into the soil. You begin to trust yourself, not because the world validates you, but because you have proven to yourself over and over that you can show up, endure, and prevail. Look at the life you are building not as a destination but as a process. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and moments that feel like failure. These are not defeats. They are proof that you are moving, learning, and stretching. The strongest people are not those who avoid pain or fear, but those who face it, navigate it, and continue anyway. Every time you embrace challenge, your inner power grows. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, patience over frustration, your future self becomes stronger than your past self. You are creating momentum that cannot be undone, building a foundation that no outside circumstance can shake. Remember, transformation is rarely flashy. It is not dramatic or instantaneous. It happens in quiet repetitions, in the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the small acts of courage that feel insignificant at the time. These acts accumulate, compounding into confidence, clarity, and unshakable inner strength. When the noise of the world fades, what remains is you, focused, capable, grounded, and prepared for anything. This is where mastery is born, not in recognition, not in applause, but in unwavering commitment to yourself and your growth. The journey is not easy. It requires patience, persistence, and the willingness to embrace discomfort as a teacher. It requires showing up day after day, sometimes tired, sometimes unsure, and sometimes afraid. But each step forward, each choice to rise and continue, reinforces your identity as someone who overcomes, who adapts, and who thrives. The power you seek has always been within you. It's waiting for you to claim it fully, to stop hesitating, to stop looking outside for permission, and to start trusting yourself. The life you want is not out there. It is created here, in the choices you make, in the courage you summon, and in the discipline you practice. There will be days when everything feels heavy, when the weight of expectations, of past mistakes, and of unfulfilled potential presses down on you. Those days are inevitable. But they are also the days that reveal your strength, because showing up on the hard days, when comfort tempts you to quit, is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Real progress is not in the easy wins, it is in the persistence through struggle, the resilience that refuses to break under pressure. Each choice to endure, each refusal to give in, to fear, compounds quietly, unseen, until one day you realize you are no longer the person who hesitated or doubted. You are someone who acts, who moves forward, who rises regardless of circumstance. The truth is, most of the world's limits exist only in your mind. They are inherited stories, assumptions, and voices that convinced you to stay small. But the moment you question them, the moment you confront them, the moment you decide that your potential is greater than the barriers you've accepted, everything shifts. You begin to see possibility where you once saw restriction. You begin to hear the whisper of your own capability over the chatter of doubt. And the more you act on that inner voice, the stronger it becomes. That inner voice is not fragile. It is relentless, patient, and infinitely capable. It has survived every challenge you faced, every mistake, every moment you thought you weren't enough, and now it waits for you to listen, to trust it, and to finally follow it with conviction. Every setback you have endured, every failure that once felt like a verdict, has been a teacher in disguise. They were not punishments, they were calibrations, guiding you toward the person you are meant to become. When you embrace this perspective, fear loses its power, doubt loses its grip. You no longer measure yourself against arbitrary standards or fleeting opinions. Instead, you measure yourself by what you do, how you respond, and whether you continue despite difficulty. The power is in the act of showing up, consistently, intentionally, and with integrity. The world may not notice, and that is irrelevant. What matters is that you do. What matters is that you cultivate momentum through repeated action, forging a version of yourself that is strong enough to withstand anything. This is how mastery is built. Not in a single moment of brilliance, not in a flash of inspiration, but in countless small decisions to persist, to endure, and to act with purpose. Each time you resist giving in to fear, each time you choose discipline over impulse, each time you move forward when the path is uncertain, you build an unshakable foundation within yourself. That foundation does not crumble under criticism, setback, or chaos. It is steady, grounded, and entirely yours. And the beauty of it is that no one can take it from you. It exists independently of recognition, reward, or approval. It is forged from your commitment to yourself and your willingness to do what most will not. Show up every day without excuses. The life you are striving for does not require permission. It does not need validation. It only requires courage, the quiet, persistent courage to keep moving when it would be easier to stop, to take the next step, to make the next choice, and to trust that the accumulation of these small, deliberate actions will carry you to a life that reflects your true potential. It is here, in these choices, in this persistence, in this unwavering commitment to your own growth, that you discover who you are capable of becoming. This is where greatness begins, not with recognition, not with applause, not with certainty, but with the consistent act of believing in yourself enough to act again and again, even when the world does not notice. And now, here's the moment that changes everything, not because it comes with fireworks or fanfare, but because you choose it. Right here, right now, you decide to stop waiting for permission, for validation, for the perfect conditions. You decide to stop shrinking, to stop apologizing for wanting more, for dreaming bigger, for expecting more from yourself. That decision, small and quiet as it may feel, is the spark that ignites the life you've been capable of all along. Because the fire was never gone. It was waiting, smoldering beneath doubt, beneath fear, beneath the endless noise of the world. And now it rises with every choice you make to honor yourself, to step forward, and to act in alignment with who you truly are, the people who inspire you, the stories that stir something deep inside. They didn't begin with certainty. They began by showing up when it was hard, when it felt impossible, when everything in them screamed to quit. And in that daily, relentless commitment, they became extraordinary. That same extraordinary power exists in you. It has always existed. Every challenge you've faced, every obstacle you've overcome, every quiet victory that no one noticed, it's all proof. Proof that you can endure, that you can rise, that you can keep going when others would stop. You are not the sum of your fears. You are the accumulation of every small act of courage, every disciplined choice, every moment you refuse to give up. So rise. Step forward even when your legs shake. Speak your truth even when your voice trembles. Take the path you've been afraid to walk and walk it anyway. The world may not notice at first, and that's irrelevant. Your power is not in their acknowledgement, it is in your consistency, your persistence, your refusal to settle for anything less than what you know you are capable of. Every step, every effort, every act of courage compounds, quietly transforming you into someone unstoppable. That is the essence of true strength, not recognition, not applause, not external reward, but a fire that burns within, unwavering, unshakable, eternal. And one day you will look back, not at the moments you waited, doubted, or hesitated, but at the life you built in silence, in shadows, in the quiet persistence of showing up. That is your victory. That is your legacy. That is the proof that you are, and always were, capable of more than you ever believed. You are not defined by setbacks, by fear, or by doubt. You are defined by your courage to rise, your discipline to persist, and your relentless commitment to yourself. So go forward with confidence, with purpose, with unwavering belief in the power that has always been within you. The fire is yours. Let it blaze. Every day presents a choice, to remain small, to follow the familiar, or to step into the unknown and stretch toward your potential. It's in these moments, the quiet, unremarkable ones where no one is watching, that character is forged. Every act of persistence, every decision to continue when the world seems heavy, every refusal to give in to fear compounds into something unstoppable. You may not see it immediately, but momentum is being built quietly, invisibly, within you. And the cumulative effect of these small, consistent actions is monumental. One day, without warning, you will look back and realize that the life you wanted has been quietly constructed in the background of ordinary days where you simply chose to show up. The truth is that comfort is the enemy of growth. Every moment you reach beyond ease, beyond certainty, you stretch the boundaries of what you are capable of. Every time you act despite fear, despite doubt, despite hesitation, you teach yourself something invaluable, that you are not limited by what you feel in the moment. Strength is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to act even when fear is present. Discipline is not restriction, it is freedom earned through consistency. And confidence is not granted, it is built layer by layer, decision by decision, through proof of action over time. These truths are not flashy, but they are real, and the person who masters them is unstoppable. No one else can hand you the courage you need, nor the clarity, nor the unwavering focus to keep moving forward when the path is uncertain. That comes from within. You are the author of your own resilience, the architect of your own transformation. When the world tries to define you by your failures, by your setbacks, or by the limitations it assumes for you, you have the choice to rise above. to define yourself not by external markers, but by your persistence, your integrity, and your refusal to stop. Every challenge you face is not a roadblock, it is a teacher, a chance to strengthen the foundation of who you are becoming. And finally, remember this: the fire inside you does not require validation, applause, or recognition. It is not contingent on circumstances or the opinions of others. It exists regardless of external noise, regardless of setbacks, regardless of fear. Every time you honor it, every time you act in alignment with your values, every time you rise despite doubt, you strengthen it. You reclaim your power. You prove to yourself over and over that your potential has no ceiling, your resilience knows no limit, and your capacity for greatness is boundless. This is your life. This is your fire. Feed it, nurture it, protect it, and let it blaze brighter than ever before. You hesitate as a moment the fire waits quietly, patient but ready. Life doesn't hand out clarity or certainty. It hands you choices and the courage to take them. Each choice, no matter how small, compounds into something monumental. The person you are becoming is not made in a single epic moment, but in the hundreds of unseen, uncelebrated decisions to rise, to move forward, to keep going when the world whispers quit. You may feel fear, doubt, or uncertainty, but those are not signs that you are weak. They are proof that you are stretching, that you are growing, that you are alive. And growth, true growth, happens precisely in that tension, not outside of it. Look around you and notice the distractions, the noise, the endless comparisons to others that pull you off course. The world will always try to convince you that you're not enough, that someone else has it easier, that your efforts don't matter. But that is a lie, a story told by fear disguised as reality. Your journey is yours alone, and no one else's path has any bearing on your potential. The victories you create in silence, the battles you fight when no one sees, the resilience you build in private, those are the foundations of true strength. They are invisible to the world but undeniable to the person who chooses to honor them every single day. Remember, power is quiet, persistent, and invisible until it manifests in action. Real strength does not scream for attention, it simply acts. It moves forward, without needing recognition, without requiring applause, without waiting for the world to notice. The person who masters themselves is the one who rises, despite fear, who chooses discipline over impulse, who keeps moving when circumstances are imperfect and support is absent. That is where unshakable confidence is born, not from words but from repeated proof of action. Each time you show up, each time you refuse to give in to doubt, you are rewriting the story of who you are and what you are capable of. And finally, know this: your life, your potential, your fire, none of it is defined by yesterday, by mistakes, by fear, or by anyone else's opinion. You carry within you a force that is limitless, timeless, and waiting to be claimed. Every act of courage, every choice to move forward, every commitment to yourself strengthens it. The world may never see the struggles you endure, but it does not matter. What matters is that you see them, that you honor them, and that you continue to rise. The fire inside you is not temporary, it is eternal. Feed it, protect it, let it shape everything you do. This is your power, this is your life, this is your moment. Now is the time to stop asking permission from the world, from others, from the version of yourself that doubts. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions, the flawless moment, the ideal alignment of circumstances. Life will never hand it to you on a silver platter. Real power begins the moment you decide to act despite imperfection. Every step forward, no matter how small or hesitant, is a declaration to yourself: I am here, I am capable, I will not wait any longer to become the person I was meant to be. That decision, quietly made and fiercely held, creates a ripple that touches every part of your life, even the areas that feel stagnant, even the corners you thought were unreachable. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is moving forward in spite of it. Resilience is not the absence of struggle, it is the act of standing again when the world tries to push you down. Strength is not measured by applause or recognition. It is measured in the consistency of your actions when no one is watching. And the remarkable truth is this: the more you show up, the more you commit, the more you act aligned with your purpose, the stronger you become. It compounds, silently but powerfully, like a storm gathering strength beneath the surface. Every choice, every small victory, every act of discipline builds momentum that cannot be stopped, not by doubt, not by fear, not by anyone else. Look inward and recognize that everything you need has always been inside you. Your potential, your courage, your fire, they were never lost. They were waiting, quietly, patiently, beneath layers of hesitation, fear, and distraction. And now, with every conscious choice, every act of courage, every disciplined step forward, you awaken them. You reclaim what was always yours: the power to shape your life, the ability to rise above limitation, the strength to act even when it's hard. These are not gifts handed to a lucky few. They are the birthright of anyone willing to show up consistently and unapologetically for themselves. So rise, move, act, fail and rise again. Stand firm when the world tells you to quit. Speak when silence feels safer. Step forward when hesitation tempts you to step back. Do it because you owe it to the person you are becoming, because the fire inside you is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for you to remember, to claim it, to feed it, to let it blaze. Every choice you make from this moment on is another spark, another proof, another step toward the life you were born to live. And when you finally look back, you will see that all along, the power, the strength, the courage, it was always within you. You just had to act to awaken it. This is the moment where everything shifts, not because the world has changed, not because circumstances are perfect, but because you finally decide that nothing will stop you. No fear, no doubt, no expectation from anyone else will dictate your path. You stop giving your power away. You stop waiting for approval. You stop letting hesitation define your limits. Every decision you make from here on out, every small act of courage, every disciplined step forward is a brick in the foundation of your unstoppable self. You are no longer a passenger in your own life. You are the driver, the architect, the force that shapes your reality. The fire within you does not demand attention. It does not scream or compete. It burns quietly, fiercely, and steadily. Every time you honor it, every time you act, despite discomfort, despite fear, it grows stronger. That strength is invisible to the world, but undeniable to you. It shows up in the way you persist when no one is watching, in the way you choose integrity over convenience, in the way you rise after every setback. These moments may seem small, ordinary even, but they accumulate into something extraordinary, a life shaped by intention, courage, and unwavering discipline. You are the culmination of every choice you've made, every challenge you've faced, and every act of resilience you've carried out in silence. The doubts, the criticisms, the setbacks, they do not define you. They are merely tests, sparks meant to awaken the fire you already possess. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You only need to remember who you are and show up for yourself every single day. That is where true power resides. That is where greatness is born. That is where your life transforms from ordinary to extraordinary, not through luck, not through circumstance, but through the relentless daily act of choosing to rise, to act, to persist. And now the choice is yours. Will you remain waiting, hoping for permission, hoping for motivation, hoping for a perfect moment that may never come, or will you act right here, right now, igniting the fire that has always been inside you, stepping into your potential, and proving to yourself that nothing can hold you back? Every day, every action, every decision matters. This is your life, your fire, your moment. Claim it, feed it, let it blaze. The world will notice, not because you shouted, but because your results will speak louder than any words ever could. You are ready, you are capable, you are unstoppable. This is where transformation truly begins, not when life changes around you, but when you decide to change yourself from within. Every fear that once held you back, every doubt that whispered not enough, every hesitation that kept you frozen, These are not chains, they are signals. Signals pointing you to the exact places you need to grow, to act, to rise. The fire inside you has always been waiting, patient, steady. It does not demand permission. It does not ask for conditions to be perfect. It only waits for you to show up, consistently, courageously, without compromise. And when you do, when you act despite uncertainty, that fire ignites fully. It becomes your momentum, your compass, your unshakable force. Every time you choose action over avoidance, discipline over convenience, persistence over quitting, you are proving to yourself that nothing external can define your worth. Real power is built in the shadows, in the moments no one sees, in the choices made when comfort is absent and fear is loud. That is where resilience is forged, where confidence grows roots so deep that no storm, no criticism, no setback can shake it. Life may throw challenges, it may test you endlessly, but the strength you cultivate in private, the quiet, steady, unwavering strength, will always carry you through. You are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the master of your response, the architect of your own destiny. So stop waiting for the world to recognize you. Stop waiting for the perfect timing, the right feeling, the external validation. Stop letting doubt dictate your story. Every small, deliberate action is proof of your power. Every time you rise when you could fall, every time you move forward when you could stay back, every time you honor your principles when no one is watching, you are awakening your potential. That potential is limitless, untapped, eternal. It is not built on luck, circumstance, or approval. It is built on daily commitment, intentional choices, and the relentless act of showing up, even when it's hard, even when it feels impossible. And now you see it clearly. Your life, your fire, your destiny, none of it depends on anyone else. You carry everything you need within yourself. The courage, the power, the clarity. They are all already there, waiting for your recognition, waiting for your action. Every decision, every step, every choice you make from this moment forward writes the story of who you are becoming. You are stronger than you think. You are capable beyond measure. You are unstoppable. And it begins with the unwavering choice to act, to persist, to rise right here, right now. The moment you stop waiting for life to hand you permission is the moment everything shifts. Nothing external needs to change. You don't need approval, validation, or a green light from anyone else. What you need is to act, here, now, with what you already have. Every hesitation, every fear, every not ready, yet is just noise trying to distract you from your own power. The truth is, readiness is created in motion. Confidence is built by stepping forward when you don't feel like it, by showing up when the world isn't watching, by doing the work quietly and consistently until it becomes unstoppable momentum. You've been conditioned to measure yourself against the wrong things, against other people's successes, against their timelines, against external metrics that mean nothing to your growth. But your progress isn't found in comparison. It's found in the choices you make daily, the discipline you maintain, the courage you summon when everything in you wants to quit. These small, unseen victories, they compound. They form a foundation of strength that no criticism can shake, no setback can undo. The world may overlook them, but you will never forget them. That is the quiet power that shapes legends, that builds lives beyond ordinary reach, that carves resilience so deep it cannot be broken. Look inside. There, beneath the doubts, beneath the noise, beneath the weight of expectation, you'll find what's always been there, a fire, steady, patient, relentless. It does not burn for applause, it does not shine for recognition. It burns because it must, because it is your essence, your potential, your truth. Every time you honor it, you awaken more of yourself. Every time you act, despite discomfort, fear, or uncertainty, you reclaim what was always yours, the power to define your life, the strength to persevere, the clarity to move forward no matter what. You were never powerless. You were only waiting to remember. And now, the choice is yours. Will you let hesitation keep you small? Will you let doubt dictate your limits? Or will you step forward again and again, knowing that each small act, each quiet decision, each disciplined moment is a spark that fuels the fire inside you. That fire is eternal. That fire is unstoppable. That fire is you. It has always been there, patiently waiting for the moment you claim it. Show up, act, rise, because the life you've been searching for, the strength you've been chasing, the power you've been seeking, it's not out there. It's always been inside you. And the time to awaken it is now. The person you admire, the version of yourself who moves with unwavering confidence, clarity, and inner steadiness, they are not some distant fantasy. They are not waiting at the end of a journey you haven't started. That version of you is already inside, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be uncovered. Carl Jung once said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. You don't need to transform into someone else. You don't need to chase a version of yourself created by the world's expectations. You only need to stop running from who you already are. When you show up in honesty and embrace your truth, that version of yourself is closer than you realize, so close it's almost within reach. One aligned choice is all it takes, one moment of courage, one step forward in the direction you've been postponing for far too long. And when you finally acknowledge that truth, when you stop underestimating your own potential, the shift begins. Growth isn't something you find outside. It's something already unfolding inside of you. Everything changes, not because circumstances are different, but because you are different. You stop waiting for validation, for permission, for the perfect moment. You begin walking with purpose, acting deliberately, embodying the person you have always been capable of becoming. And once that happens, there's no turning back. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are evolving every single day in ways the world may never witness, but that your future self will forever thank you for. The quiet strength you are cultivating now, the discipline, the consistency, the integrity, is louder and more powerful than any words or applause. If this message resonates with something deep inside, there's another video on the screen right now, ready to take you even deeper, ready to be your next step forward. Thank you for being here. Thank you for committing to yourself. This Space Stoicism notebook isn't about perfection. It's about progress, about purpose, and about cultivating quiet, unshakable power.